Welcome to Thursday Live, and I have to tell you, you're going to be absolutely grateful that you got to be a part of this particular evening. And I just encourage you to share with as many people as you can, text, invite, do whatever you need to do, because this is going to be a fun discussion. We're going to be focusing in on the glory of Christmas, and I'm going to have the privilege of having a conversation with the three-member core creative team that from January through December are a part of making this thing come to life and have been doing it for a very, very long time. They happen to be some of my favorite people on the planet. I love to do life with them, community with them, and certainly enjoy doing ministry with them. But when it comes to the glory of Christmas, I love to stand in awe of what God has chosen to do through them. And so that's what we're going to do. And I just need you to know it's going to be a great conversation. Can't wait to have it. So here they are. I'm glad to be joining you guys. This is the Glory of Christmas creative team. We have my wife, Roxanne, who's the Director of Creative Arts, Director of GOC. We have Paul Black, who has been forever our Creative Arts Pastor, and he is the Music Director of GOC. And we have Blake Powell, who is our creative video director, but also big part of the GOC creative team. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
Cool. Yeah, you guys are just better looking than I even thought.
Of course.
So, yeah, of course. I love that. That's the right answer. Oh,
a young Brad Powell in the room.
There we go. Okay. You never know what you're going to get with our creative video director. Who was that handsome man, by the way?
He had a seminary mustache, that's for sure.
Yeah, he was so cliche, it's not even worth talking about. Okay, so hey, this is a special year for the glory of Christmas, and so I'm excited about having this conversation with you guys in particular. Number one, I love spending time with you, but number two, this is the 30th year of the glory of Christmas. A 30th year.
Amazing.
And it's creative. And so I just thought we'd talk about that. I mean, how many churches have people who could have been a part of the church 30 years, let alone a particular ministry event as special as the glory of Christmas? And so I think we have to go back, Paul, to you, because, and a lot of people don't know this, I came as the pastor in October of 90, and I started calling you immediately. You lived in California at the time. And asking you to come and be the music pastor here, and you said no, and your wife said absolutely not, and get thou behind me, Satan, and all that stuff. But anyway, after a year of that, God literally, opened Dree's heart, your heart. You guys came, and that year you walked into something the church had done for a while. I had to walk into the same thing. Tell us a little bit about what preceded the glory of Christmas.
Yeah, I walked into what they called the beloved singing Christmas tree. And it was the 7th annual. When I came, it was the 7th annual singing Christmas tree, which is basically a tree that's about 40 feet high, has 60 singers in it, and they're all in little rows, half circle rows, and the heads are the ornaments on the tree. And then there's lights on it, and you sing songs.
Yeah, and Roxanne, do that again. Tell them how high it came up on you.
You're like this.
Yeah, that's right. You're just, here's your head. Your head is just an ornament.
So the heads are like little bulbs hanging on the Christmas tree.
And then there's somebody on the very top to be the star, and there's a little star above their head. So it was, a traditional thing that you had done. And I came in September. There was no changing anything much other than I just tried to make the Christmas tree the best one I could make. And we added drama. We had a drama set to it, and we added some things. I did everything we could. And we did, I think, 3 performances of it.
I think so.
And we worked really hard. And at the end of the day, one person accepted Christ. Yeah. And it was great. I mean, happy that person did. But all that work, I was thinking we could actually, if we took all those people and all those hours and just went out into the streets, we could reach more people for Christ than that. Yeah. And so you, Brad, told me after that I needed to give you a compelling reason why we should have a Christmas program. And I don't know if you remember that. You said, go in my office and don't come out until I had something. And
that sounds like me.
Yeah, it was pretty much your relational leader self. You.
Yeah. And how much is this gig going to cost me? Is that
which is kind of ironic because you said, I'm hiring you to come out here and do big programs. That's what your job is. And then after I did one, you're like, give me a reason why we should do this.
Well, which tells you that I thought it, didn't measure up.
And by the way, I didn't think it did either. And so, but I went to my office and tried to spend time with God on it, and God gave me a crazy idea. He said, here's your purpose. Here's why we should do it. Because I started realizing, you told me, Brad, you said, it's not in the Bible that churches do Christmas programs. You don't see it in Acts. And then they did a Christmas program. So it's not something you have to do. And so why should we do it? And it was a great question. So when I just kind of got along with God and came out with this idea to create an exciting event that would motivate a believer to buy a ticket for an unbeliever. And it was so crazy and so counterintuitive because we had given away, what would you call, complimentary tickets when we did the tree. And they printed literally 4 times as many tickets as they had seats in the auditorium. And I think there was 4,000 seats. So I think they printed 16,000 complimentary tickets. And I said, oh my gosh, what if they come? We won't be able to hold them. And the answer was, oh, they never come.
No, they won't come.
They won't come. But it was traditional, and that's what worked apparently in the past. So this idea was crazy, and I was laughed at first, not by you. I pitched it to you first, Brad. I said, so what do you think? And you went, wow, that's kind of a crazy idea, but it might work. And then you kind of put it in my ballpark, and you said, well, I guess it's okay. Can you make that happen, or something along that lines? It was more like, are you sure? Okay, it's on you. But then I said, okay, Brad, I'll do this, but you got my back, right? When we start selling tickets, that's going to create a stir in the church. And he was like, yeah, I have your back. I said, okay. So then that's how it started.
And by the way, people don't understand, because now we have 30 years of this, how dramatic that was to go, first of all, to change, just to change from the tree to something else that no one knew of was a major change. And the people inside the church, not the people outside the church, but the people inside the church, basically traditional Christian people, loved the tree. I mean, loved it. And so that changed. But then churches are supposed to be free, right? I mean, church is supposed to be free. And when we started talking about charging tickets, that wasn't even just having your back. I had to stand up, if you remember, and I had to cast the vision to the church and say, look, we've been inviting people in for free tickets, and no one wants to come to a free anything because it sounds like it's not going to be good. And number two, the people who come and give are the guests and not the regular people from the church, because they already give at the church. And so why don't we make this compelling enough for people to buy tickets to give to someone? The people will be motivated to come because it's a gift that costs something, and Christians will be people in the church will be the ones that pay for it. And cast that vision. Not everybody bought it, but we immediately started becoming more successful at reaching the very people we wanted to share the gospel with. How do you remember it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember one guy coming into my office and told me that if Jesus was here, he would whip me because I'm selling things in the church, And then he proceeded to call me the Antichrist. I've never been called the Antichrist in my life, but that guy did.
Well, you finally joined me. So now we're in each other's company.
That's right. And what happened when we did that, the church bought into it miraculously, which was great. And everything was going great. I remember the final dress rehearsal. You had invited a neighbor that had come to the singing Christmas tree, and she asked you, now I want to come again. You're going to do the tree. And you told her, no, it's going to be something better. And then you came to me and you go, it's going to be better, right? It's going to be better. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be better. I was like, yeah, it's going to be great. And I'd be go in my office. Oh God, let this be great.
Yeah. By the way, we've had so many moments like that. By the way, Roxanne is always the one that better represents us to neighbors. And so she was the one that, and Roxanne, you're right there and you can tell part of the story, but you're the one that invited her and it was great. I loved what the first GOC was, but she hated it. She came and said, I love the tree. That was cool. That was different. And man, now you're doing the Christmas story and Easter. You should stop and leave something for Easter because we were doing the resurrection, right, Roxanne?
Yeah, basically, why can't you leave it at the birth? Why do you have to go on with Jesus and dying on the cross and all that stuff? She just thought that was just ridiculous. So
we've had many over the years think that, and it's okay. But here's the big thing. When the dust settled, we actually did 4 nights, even though the tree was 3 and we didn't fill the auditorium. We just went big. I just said, let's go big. We sold tickets. We did 4 nights, if you remember, the first time, and we had full crowds.
Yeah.
Not only that, more importantly, we had 131 salvations that first GOC compared to 1 with the tree. And that was the kicker.
And by
that
the way,
really
that's the whole
set us
thing.
off.
That's the whole thing. And so and isn't it just like any organization representing even spiritual things to fall in love with what they've done instead of engaging the mission in its absolute effectiveness. And Jesus got blasted as the Antichrist. And so I just love people now look at the glory of Christmas. It's a no-brainer, but it's not a no-brainer. It wasn't a no-brainer. It's always been hard. And to this day, we're always evaluating it. If all it was doing was bringing in church people from other churches and just a Christian program and all that different stuff, we would have canned this thing years ago. And so every year we evaluate this thing based upon how many people are coming in and hearing the gospel at the glory of Christmas for the first time. And it's, we try and keep it well above 50%, but it's usually more like 70%. And that means we're planting seeds of the gospel in new lives, whether that is a decision at that moment or not. And then we try and track that. So there's nothing at Northridge that we do just to perpetuate what's been done. And so what was back then is still today. I want to go to Blake because Blake, you're sitting there patiently, but it's curious. We're talking about 30 years ago. You were a kid. What was your view of it? Do you even remember this thing? I'd be curious as to how you see it.
I remember the singing Christmas tree. I mean, I thought that was awesome because I was like 7. And I would play on, I'd go up on stage and play on it when no one was around. But
of course you would. Of course you would.
You got to get to the top. You want to be the star, the star. It's very hazy. I was going to ask, like, even Rock, like, what was your role in that first one? You guys, when you guys were in the trenches, I was in,
diapers.
Basically, I was in La La Land. I was in like the happy space of not having any real reality yet. So,
I was in the choir, and I remember doing a song with Jeree and another girl doing a trio. And so one of the rehearsals, I brought sombreros because it's kind of a Mexican type of song, and we put them on and started singing it. And Paul was freaking out with us. He was so mad at us. Because we were doing tricks. We had nothing to do up there. So we were trying to do all these fun things and just do something funny. And he wouldn't have it. He was not happy about that at all. But I do remember that. And I actually volunteered a lot. I did the children's choir for the next one. And actually, did we have children's choir for the Christmas tree?
No,
I don't think so.
No, we didn't.
So I started getting more involved because I could just see he was overwhelmed with all of it. The new thing, not the tree, but this next part when we went to GOC. And so I just started getting involved in that as much as like volunteering.
And what people people only know you for what you are today, Roxanne, a very important lead in this whole creative adventure of ours.
Some would say integral.
Integral, yes, for sure. Intra girl. Are you an
That's a good
intra girl?
Integral, right? That's the word.
Yes.
Yeah, integral. At any rate, but you were a volunteer, absolutely committed to our ministry and moving forward, but as a volunteer. And a lot of people don't even know this story. This is all interesting, actually, I think, because Paul, you don't. We're talking about the glory of Christmas. That's kind of the point of this, but you didn't just get to do nothing else but the glory of Christmas. I mean, here we were in this unbelievable battle for transitioning the church at large. Every weekend was a major affair, and every ministry aspect. And Paul, I asked Paul to a lunch one day, and we were having trouble with, our 45 ushers or something at the time, and old guys standing in the back of the church like this every week, staring people down. It was horrible. It was horrific. And like new people would come in and run away. Anyway, so I invited Paul to a lunch one time and said, "Hey, bud, those ushers thing, yeah, they're really a problem. They need to be fixed." I said, "Yes, they do. And I'm going to assign you with that job." So yeah, he's changing the music program, helping us do the weekends, ushers, organizational
And
things.
Weekends back then were Sunday night and Wednesday as well.
That's right. We did Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and there are other things involved. And so, I mean, there was just a ton going on. But these things all started growing eventually. And Paul started needing help. And I'll never forget, he came to me and he said, you'll learn some things, because a lot of people don't know how this stuff happens. He says, "I think Roxanne should become my assistant." And I said, "On staff?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I went, "That's never going to happen. I'm not going to hire my wife. That would be horrific." And this thing went on for about 6 months. You actually hired someone else in the meantime as a part-time person and all that. But then I'll never forget, after that a while, it's like I didn't hear a voice. The handwriting wasn't on the wall, but it was so clear. God stamped in my heart. So let me get this right, Brad. Because she's married to you, she can't fulfill the function of my call in the local church. And I went, ouch. And so I said, "Okay, God, I get it." And then I had to go to fight through all the different organizational patterns, again, traditions. Pastor's wife can't do that kind of thing, but yes, they can. And we went through that. But that's how then your mom, Blake, became a part of the staff. And it wasn't just for the glory of Christmas. It was for the whole creative arts thing as your assistant, Paul.
Yeah. I remember that the second month that I came in September, October, you took me to Big Boy for lunch. And I thought, oh, this would just be a nice community thing. We weren't really friends then. We just kind of knew each other. And you said, I just thought we were just going to have a fun lunch. You pull out a sheet of paper. Here's your new job description. And it had take care of the ushers, lead the guest services, lead the parking team. And we didn't really have any leaders. And I said, "Well, who are the leaders?" And you have to find them. And so I was like, "Okay. Oh yeah. And fire the head usher and get another person in there." And so it was like very overwhelming. When I think about it right now, I go, "Oh my gosh." And then the fact that the previous church I'd been in, we had a part-time secretary, admin, whatever you want to call it. And here you were like, "No," I go, can I have a part-time secretary or something? And you went, "No, you have to find volunteers to do that." Then I tried it. And then about a month before GOC, you said, I was dying. I can't be all of this, And so you saw it and you loaned me your assistant to help get me through the first, I think it was the first Christmas program, just the singing Christmas tree.
I think that's right.
And then after that, when we launched the Glory of Christmas, which was like 100 times more complicated and more involved than, the vision, that's when we started adding staff. And that's when Roxanne came on, because she was in drama. She was one of the narrators in the first Glory of Christmas. She was a narrator, actor.
By the way, didn't you do a drama one time on the stage of our church where you were pretending to smoke?
I did. And people were so mad. pastor's wife is smoking on the stage.
That's hilarious.
Anyway,
yeah.
it was very overwhelming, and the vision was so large, it was so huge that we needed support. And Roxanne was the first of that to launch that, and rightly so.
And that's really weird because along the way, of course, we did it all. You were saying I wouldn't even give you an assistant. I mean, people don't understand. We were a very small church that didn't have the resources even for the staff for that. And so we had to, and some people weren't willing to give because they hated our changes and they wanted to drive me out as the leader and us. I'll never forget one time, Paul, when this was a weekend, not a Glory of Christmas thing, but you walked by me after leading the church in the music we were doing to transition. And you said, my gosh, wasn't it like, they're dead? And I said, don't worry, they've been dead a long time or something like that. Or they hate I can't remember exactly the phrase, but
I remember it exactly. It's still in my head today, walking by you on the platform, but because back then we sat on the platform, I'd be sitting on the platform, you're preaching, and then I go and do the song leading and with the choir and the orchestra. And then we would pass by each other, in our duties. As we passed by, I said, because I just led the worship and it was pitiful. No one was singing. They were just looking at me like, I could still see that. And I was like, I said, Brad, I'm sorry. I can't find the pulse of these people. I cannot find the pulse. I tried hymns. I tried choruses. Nothing worked with them. And I passed by you out of frustration. I said, Brad, I'm sorry. I can't find the pulse of these people. And you said, don't worry, Paul, they have no pulse. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Oh, the history. But all right. So all of this was vision. We did all of this effort. We did all this stuff out of vision for wanting to wake the world up to Jesus, though we didn't use those words at the time. And I think our mission was to lead people to a life of faith in Christ and then on to a life of full devotion. I think that was our missional statement. Mm-hmm. And but then Roxanne, you came along and administratively helped to start organizing this under Paul's thing. And then I saw, and this says something big about Paul. I felt like his creativity and what he really brings to this thing. There are very few orchestral conductors as talented as you, Paul, and there are very few choir directors, and there are very few that can do both choral, vocal, and orchestral, especially together. And you excel, and then the creativity behind it in that time. I saw that the administrative stuff was getting in your way. One example I'll never forget. You were up adjusting lights and I came into the auditorium and I just got PO'd at you because I was saying, you're not supposed to be adjusting lights. You're supposed to be leading this thing out and, blah, blah, blah. And it's a memory. But so I actually then made the switch and I said, why don't we let my wife, who's very, very creative, but administratively unbelievably talented, carry the load of leadership in that area so you can be free underneath. And instead of seeing it as a loss, gain, competition, you went, yeah, let's give that a go. And so it's a weird evolution. You're responsible for me finally recognizing God called her to actually be vocational in the church as your assistant. And then this big turn, and all of this is a part of the Glory of Christmas progress. I mean, crazy.
Yeah. It was, and you know what? It goes back to, even when you switch positions, not switch position, but to change different seats on the bus in a church. Some people will go, well, how do you feel about sitting in a new seat in the bus, so to speak? They don't say it that way. And I always just thought, you know what? I'm not going to get any more crowns in heaven because I sit on a certain seat on a bus. But if I sit on the right seat of the bus, God's going to be blessed, and it's what He wants me to do, and I'll hear the well done, thou good and faithful servant. So that's kind of been and sometimes it challenges you. Sometimes everybody has a little bit of pride, and you think, wow, sometimes it's hard to let go of previous assignments. But then 5 years into the Glory of Christmas, I remember God clearly speaking to me, not in an audible voice, in the middle of a song. Paul, do you realize how insignificant you are in the process of this whole thing? And I just was like, whoa, that's kind of wow, okay. And by the end of the song, I was like, yeah, I am. And I need to lead that way.
That's
And so
awesome.
that was the beginning of unleashing all the lead volunteers and Roxanne coming on and leading those people and then switching positions in the administrative area. Yeah, it was, and I just saw it unfolding and I was excited. And I actually realized that God was inviting me not to limit my ministry, but to
Maximize
change
it.
my ministry from addition to multiplication.
Yeah, and by the way, that's exactly right. Now, this is because we try and control, right? We hold on, we keep it from becoming all that God can do it. So, Roxanne, we've been talking a lot about you. I adore you. People don't have an understanding of you were a full-time mom, you were a full-time wife, you were a volunteer in every aspect of ministry in my life as the senior pastor of this church. Then you come into this thing and then you take over this thing. Talk about your ride on this glory of Christmas and what it's meant.
Well,
for
I
you
was just going to say, Paul and I had enough time to work together. I had such deep respect for his talent. I mean, he's just unbelievable in the whole orchestra and musical side. I mean, just amazingly respect. So it may have been that way on paper, but I was just along to be the helper and to make it work. And I could actually, do what I wanted to do. And he just went along with it. He had respect for me. I remember him walking by me and I was in my office and something was going on. He walked by me and he went, "Oh, I'm so glad you're doing this instead of me." I was doing budget stuff and I was doing this and I was trying to meet people. So it just worked out great for both of us because we both got to get into our talent base and it's been smooth ever since. And I was your assistant for how many years, Paul?
Gosh, wow, let's see. Probably
was it 14 years?
14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you hired someone to help you. We had a part-time secretary. Though the church grew to 5,000 with just you and me and a part-time secretary, which is kind of
creative
insane.
Arts. Yeah.
In creative arts. Yeah. Yeah.
And what people don't understand, you were doing Sunday morning, the weekends, we were doing 3-4 services, and we were doing New Life every single week, which was like 45 minutes of creative music and all that stuff. And we were doing Glory of Christmases and other glory things. It's amazing.
And we had volunteer lighting director, volunteer video director, volunteer stage people. Everybody we had was all volunteer at that point. And so you had to work really hard to make sure they knew what was going on. They're coming in from work. Here's what you got to do, kind of thing. So it was a little bit, it got hard sometimes.
You had one cheap pastor. That's just all I can say about it. So Blake, now you guys form the core of the creative team. Obviously, we have a bunch of creative players in the Glory of Christmas and every angle and all that. But you three are at the core of the creative expression, what the story's going to be, what the flow is going to be, how it's going to come off. Tell us a little bit, Blake, I'll start with you. Well, first of all, when did you come on as really a part of the core creative team for Glory of Christmas, Blake? Because it's cool to have the next generation represented.
Yeah, it would have been 2008, I think. I mean, I was probably in the first GOC as kids club. Yeah,
of course. For
watching, somebody sing Happy Birthday Jesus, and they were like my peer, my age group. I wish I was that person. Never got to be Happy Birthday Jesus. Oh, well, that was when I was a teenager. I've run the gamut. I was Frosty for years.
He was Frosty, and he was in the costume, and I'm on the front row, and I could hear him screaming bloody murder in the head, and he was making all the kids around him just crack up.
Yeah, I would screech. When I was younger, I had a really nice piercing velociraptor screech that I've since lost, but my daughter has now. So
I think your son has it worse than your daughter.
Oh, right. Benny boy. Oh my gosh. But anyway, it's passed down from generation to generation. Anyway, I would screech inside because only the just right around me could hear it because it's so loud. and because it was a way to make everyone look really jolly because they just
That's funny.
laughing. But yeah, no, I joined in. Well, I've been at the church almost 15 years, and
Video editing.
with video, yes, with video editing. But we like people. The January we meet, the three of us, me, Paul, and Rox. In January we have a GOC meeting for the following GOC. I mean, we're the ones thinking about this stuff like the day after the last show, which is exhausting. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously I've been around these people my whole life, so that creative juice it's the seed that's planted. You're just around it all the time, so you become creative. They're pretty much probably responsible for my creativity, and then to be able to come in and have ideas like Red Man and Green Man, stuff like that over the years is just fun. I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, I love that too. The change from, we used to do that quartet thing that would sing all that old music and make fun and all that. And when we said, no, we're not doing that anymore, we're going to go to something new. What? And now the same thing would happen with Red Man and Green Man, because it's like the center of these things. And this is, you have to be willing to fight the battle, to do what's necessary creatively to win for the mission. Mm-hmm. So, and we could talk about it forever, but I'd be curious, not many people are part of something like this for 30 years. A 30-year anniversary of the Glory of Christmas. It's a crazy thing. And Paul is the one God used to create the concept of it, and Roxanne to help develop it, and Blake and all these different things. And I've had the ability to help create environment so that this thing could flow. But I'd be curious, what is it that keeps you going? I mean, because here we are, we're not in our 30s anymore. Well, Blake, you
hey, speak for yourself.
Yeah. And but what is it? What do you love most about it? And what is it that keeps you as passionate today or more than you were when we began it? And I'll start with you, Roxanne.
Oh, you'll start with me? I think you should do Paul first.
No, Paul's last.
I love the community that I see happening everywhere. I mean, I feel like people who don't have any friends at all, by the end of GOC, they've got this lifelong friends, and they can't wait to go hang out and go to Bible studies with them. And it's just amazing to see the transformation around the church. The excitement it's just so, I don't even know how to explain it. The excitement with all these volunteers that want to help and do this. I don't know. It's just magical. It really is. It's a magical time in the church. And then when you see the results, and we get the results every night, we get the results, and I give it to the teams, and the teams get to spread it to the volunteers. And we just all know this is so much bigger than us. This is so much, what a privilege we have to do this. It's amazing. And like you do every night, where you say, how many of you, this is your first time here, and you see the hand raise, you go, people did exactly what you told them to do. They invited people who've never heard. And it's just exciting, because in our normal world, I mean, we get to talk to a few people here and there, but nothing like this. Yeah. And the fact that we get to sit around in January like we do and go, okay, we got to do White Christmas, but let's do it a different way. And then we go, hey, can we put guys in hospital beds? And then we all start cracking up, and we just go, because that just came out of the brainstorming process that we do. So it has a creative side to it that I love, that we get to do. And then, we have such an amazing team now. We have we hired a lighting director, a video director, and all those people. Then they get to come in, and it stretches all of us. Technically, stretches all of us in our vocation. It's just, there's something about it that I don't even know how to explain. I'm sure, Paul, you didn't even think that it would do this kind of thing.
No.
There's no way we could do what we do in Glory of Christmas right now without all of our team, and without all the extra volunteers that we have that take this technology to the huge levels that we've never seen before. So it's so exciting to be a part of it. That's all I can say about it.
I love it. I love your passion. It just shows all over your face. How about you, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add, I just think God has brought to Northridge in the creative arts a dream team, a dream staff team.
Mhm.
It's the strongest staff that we've had since we started. And Blake was one of the, we had a video director, and then Blake came on actually in 2012 in the Process Rocks when we did this. And remember, we were going to not do drama anymore, which was going to be like, oh my gosh, you're not doing drama, you're not going to do a drama story, because we'd always do one. And
Yeah.
and we thought,
The complaints. Oh, the complaints
Oh.
I got.
and so
I still get
we
complaints.
decided that drama
Yeah.
was on it. Drama wasn't the best tool. It was great when we did it before, but it wasn't the best tool in 2012 to keep doing. And so we shifted from drama to video. And I remember having that meeting with you, Rox and Blake, when you were in your house. And we said, Blake, we want to go a video direction and tell the story through video, with more video and less drama. And Blake was like, great. And I said, but here's the deal, Blake, you better not go anywhere, because we're not gonna watch this thing and then you're gone the next year. And we're like, what do we do now? We have no. And Blake said, I promise I'm going to give you 5 years. So that was in 2012. So he succeeded his vow. It's 2000. So I don't know. You remember that, Blake? I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that so vividly, so clearly.
But here's what I like about it. I love it because of the people I get to work with. I love it because of the staff. They're made up of not dream killers, but dream makers. I love it that we can dream something, the three of us, and we have staff that actually can do it, which is incredible. That's a dream, right? So it's like we're living a dream. And then the interesting thing about all of it is, I always thought about it. I thought GOC would only last 5 years, because in Northridge we don't do things very long. Like that's just not the way we work. And so I thought this gig will go 5 years. We'll find a better way to reach people. But the fact that it's kept on going, it's been always surprising to me.
Mhm.
But you ask, why do I keep doing it? I keep doing it not because we have dream makers. That's fun. Not because I don't get to exercise creativity. That's fun. I do it now because just for the love of the people, the love of the staff, the love of our volunteers, the love of the people coming to the church. I love it when I get seekers to come in that I bought tickets for, and they will tell me, we sense love here. What's going on? And they're lost. That fuels me. That fuels my fire, knowing that all these the things are going on. And I think the main thing that keeps me going, Brad, is the fact that we have no idea how influential GOC has been over the last 30 years. I know 500,000 people have sat in seats, but who knows? Who knows? How many Happy Birthday Jesus girls go up, right? Who knows what they're going to do? And, it's crazy. It makes me think, what a blessing to be a part of God thing that's way bigger than us, that we have no clue what the fruit is, but it's going to be amazing. And that's what fires me up now. I mean, we have the rest of it, the job side of it, which is really tough. It's really hard, but the reward is so great. So that's why awesome. I keep doing it.
How about you, Blaker? Why have you gone beyond your 5-year commitment and you're still in this game?
I would say, we work so hard. I remember a GOC probably, it had to be like 7 years ago or something. And I remember sleeping at the church, literally waking up 3 a.m, doing some editing, falling asleep, waking up at 7, editing a little bit, and falling asleep. It's crazy what we do. But then I remember we were doing a video shoot with people who were new to our church family. And some guy, he was like a buttoned up guy. He, probably late 30s or something, businessman type. And he was talking, it was right after we had done GOC. And he was talking about how he had basically got saved at GOC this past year. And he started talking about this new faith journey he's on, and how his life is so transformed ever since he sat in the seat at GOC. And I'm videoing him talking about this, and all of a sudden I'm flashing back to all those nights of like sleeping in the office and all this stuff. And literally I'm standing looking into the eyes of the result. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to, I don't know. It never hit me. Obviously, we know the story. We know, oh, we're doing good. We're doing this for people. But like looking at a real guy who's like three-dimensional, talking about how this past GOC changed his life, and now he's on a journey with God and stuff. That to me, like, fueled my tank for 10 years. I mean, it was like,
Awesome.
I literally went up to him after he was done and gave him a hug and said, you have no idea what this means to me, because you just can't quantify it. What we are doing here is so important. And it also is, I mean, without GOC, I don't even know how, well, first of all, Roxanne's my mom, so I would be creative no matter
what.
Yeah.
What?
I know. But, and my dad's the UPS guy. Woo!
Yeah.
Obviously, because we're built the same, Dad. Anyway,
Yeah.
no, but what I was going to say, I was just going to say, without GOC, honestly, without GOC, I mean, being raised in a whirlwind of this kind of creative passion makes you a creatively passionate person. And so, I mean, GOC has effects, like Paul was saying, who knows what the ramifications are. I know that if it disappeared, there would be a void that I don't even know. I mean, it took 30 years to build.
Yeah. And think about this. It's like Paul's right when he said, I thought it'd last 5 years because we don't do anything long-term around here and all that different stuff. And it's true. And I tend to try and find the rhythm of things when it starts losing the beat, when it starts losing the momentum. Why do that when, for me, what keeps motivating me is eternity's on the line. I mean, people's eternity is on the line. And everybody we meet, there are people who come to church one weekend and they're gone from this planet the next weekend. And all of our neighbors, all of our coworkers, every person who serves in a restaurant or cooks food in a restaurant, every bank clerk, every teacher, every hospital worker, eternity's on the line for them. And the majority of them don't know. And I have yet to find a way that we can extend the reach of our church as far as we can with the glory of Christmas. But I want you to know, we would cancel this year, all of us, if we felt like, oh, this is just another traditional program where we're bringing in a bunch of traditional church people and we're wasting all this energy on that. It'd be gone. But everybody thinks about salvations, and that's important. But salvations can't happen until the ground's been plowed and the rocks have been picked out and the seeds have been planted and it's been watered. And so for me, I love the 70% of first timers there for every one of these concerts, because that means, wow, we're sowing the seed in new places where God can do miraculous things with it. So eternity's on the line. But it's interesting. I will, one last thing, we could go on forever, but I guess I'd like to remind people that, yes, we've expanded the team and we've expanded how many people are involved and all that stuff, but I'll let you guys just speak to this. It's harder work today for you, even as individuals, than it was back in the day when we didn't have a team. Isn't that crazy how people look at, oh man, if I had a team like that, I could do anything. No, I don't think you could. Speak to that.
Well, I'll just say that people go rogue. You just go, you can't do that, because if you do that, this is what happens. This is what I do as a director. I'm having to communicate to the other people. Are you good with this? Does this work? This kind of thing. Because when they go rogue, that's when we have a panel of our LED go out, because they just let a bunch of people go behind the LED to run to the other side of the stage. It's just, there's so many variables. Literally, we're one plug away from disaster. So we do know that. So it makes it a lot harder, because there's so much communication that has to happen. And I guess that's the main point. But I wanted to say some funny things that happened during GOC.
Okay.
Can we tell one?
Sure.
Okay, I'll tell one that we rented the animals from a group. For a few years, we rented a couple animals. They brought these goats, and the goats were all really cute. And there were 3 of them that were together. And we said, "Oh, we were only supposed to have one." And they said, "Well, we have to have the middle goat because he doesn't like to be away from the other goats. And when he's away from them, we left him behind last year. He didn't eat the whole time. He waited for the goats to get back because he wouldn't eat without them. So then we bring these goats in, and for some reason, and you probably didn't even notice this if you watch GOC, the one of the goats does not like carpet. So he would walk, and he'd walk on the stage, and then the minute he hit carpet, he went to his knees, and then he was doing this. And I kept figuring, why is this trainer picking this goat up? And I found out that it was because he doesn't like carpet. So he had to do this. And it was just one of those funny moments. You just go, wow, this is so cool. But that's mine. Paul, what's your funniest thing?
Oh, man. The funniest moment. There's so many of them. It's kind of hard.
I've got one that you can tell.
Okay, what's that?
When when Phil ascended in the old building.
Yeah, in the old building.
Not so funny.
Yeah, that was.
I guess that's not funny.
Yeah, it's not funny, but I mean, we did an ascension scene that was about 40 feet high, higher ceiling than what we have in our church now in the old building, and we had a volunteer building it. You know, we didn't have a professional fly team to come in and do this thing right. So we have an engineer who never done it and tested it and all that. And he got it. And we're flying Jesus up 42 feet in the air. And it was a feat just to get that done. We had to cut a hole in the ceiling. We had to go through all kinds of, as you remember. And I was just happy there was 2 wires coming down and then he was actually going up. I was just like, that's a win. Then Brad came and said, I see the wires. You know, I see the wires. And I just said, yes, thank you very much. I see them too. And so anyway.
By the way, I still see the wires sometimes, but you do better at hiding them.
Yeah, that's right.
Really
that's
nice.
right. And it's funny. But yeah, he raised Jesus up, but then he lost control of the stop button. And before he could find it, Jesus had his shoulder in the pulley. And so and I heard him yell. I thought, that's not good. I heard him yell. It wasn't a performance. It was a rehearsal. No. So there's been some funny things. I think one of the most unusual things is the year I prayed, God, do something unusual this year that can only be explained by you. And so then he took me out. And then Rox, you had to direct, and you and Suzanne had to direct the choir and the orchestra, having never practiced it before, and do it. And it wasn't funny. I felt bad for you guys because I literally throwing up. I literally couldn't go there. I was going to throw up. Yeah. And I was throwing up. And you guys, you led the choir. Suzanne stood up from the piano, kind of cued the orchestra. And then, you made it happen. Fortunately, it was like 5 shows in. And so they were all in kind of program mode anyway. They actually kind of knew. And they were kind of supporting you and they were get it together as a team, and you guys pulled it off.
We did that. We did that Gloria song, and I didn't know which side of the choir started first, so I went, "Who starts first?" And they were going, "Gloria, Gloria, Gloria, Gloria." It was just hilarious. The whole thing was funny. I thought that was the night where I said, "I am not turning around, and I'm not directing the choir on Silent Night." In the aisle.
Not the choir, the congregation.
Yeah. Well, the congregation, with the choir there. Yeah. And one of the ladies, the visiting orchestra member who was not a Christian, she looked at me and she said, "You are going to do that because that is the most beautiful part of GOC." And so I was like, "Yes, ma'am." So, because I was just got it,
That's funny. So,
Mike,
do you have one?
Yeah.
I'm going to wind this conversation down or else they're going to start saying, hello, we don't have 12 hours. But do you have a funny one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my side of things is so different. First of all, Paul and I, one of my favorite things would be Paul and I, when we write the narrations and stuff, Paul and I it's so funny because he knew me as a punk kid, and now he and I are like banging our heads together, figuring stuff out, and it's really magical how we are able to do that. I love that part of the creative process. Paul and I wordsmith things together, and I mean it's all in house, which people think we like bought some Hollywood script. We made everything up. But then the other side I would say that is fun is like I got to shoot and direct and write all the videos for it. And so I have funny things that like are in my head from when we were filming that have nothing to do with like the actual day. It's like our Joseph and the donkey, when we were filming that, they like hated each other. And like they actually, that donkey had it out for the Joseph in our video, and like would step on his feet. It seemed like on purpose, and they actually got in a pushing match. Like I had to cut away, like cut. All right, stop fighting, guys. He's like pushing the donkey. Or like when Jesus laughs in one of the things, we were trying to make him laugh, and I was telling him like jokes and things like that where you would never, because we don't have audio, you don't hear what we're doing, but like, so all that internal stuff for me is kind of fun too. But the donkey fist fight was hilarious because then you watch it and it's like I have traveled, so like so epic. But I know that they're like plotting to kill each other. Anyway, just a lot of rewarding, funny. That's funny stuff. It was very rewarding. Obviously, this is so fun for us to do, and we were blessed to do it, and we're reaching so many people. Yeah. I mean, the day you say like, how many is this your first time here, and no one raises their hands? That's like the day we shut the doors.
Absolutely. And I just want to say I'm so proud of each and every one of you. It's so fun because very often I take the platform view of the church, but in regards to so much that happens here creatively, and like with the GOC event, I'm more of a support. I get to watch, I get to take the background role, support you environmentally, support you contextually, support you with casting vision, that stuff. But you guys lead, and it is so cool to watch that happen. I could have never created the glory of Christmas in a billion years, but God's allowed me to lead an organization where his creativity can be on display in such an amazing way through you guys. And so I'm just very, very proud. And I want to say to everybody who's watching and listening, it's 30 years of Glory of Christmas. So of course we're going to have all this conversation and reflection and nostalgia, but at the end, it's about one thing: waking the world up to Jesus. It really is. And this is a program that we think those who are the most creative people in the world should be those who know the Creator. You don't see that in a lot of religious environments, but you do here in the Glory of Christmas as a clear example of that. Most churches don't give a great opportunity where people who have no desire for the church at all can be compelled to come in and enjoy their experience, and all the while be hearing the message that they were trying to avoid all along, the message of Jesus' hope and their need for him. And I'm just excited. So I hope all of you are supporting it, and I hope that all of you are inviting people, and I hope that you all come. It's a catalyst inside the church that renews the passion we have to be the church, to be in community, to be reaching people for Jesus, to be the expression of Jesus in the world. And it's a catalyst outside of the church for people to find the hope of Jesus. And so it serves all these purposes, which is great. But so I want to say thanks to each and every one of you, to you, Paul, to you, Roxanne, to you, Blake. So proud of you, and everyone who works with you on this thing. You know who you are. For all of our hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, for each of you who buys tickets, it's a big deal. And I don't know if there are still tickets, involved GOCtickets.com. You can go check that thing out. And I hope that you're inviting someone. Don't come alone. It's more fun to share it, as we're finding in the doing of the GOC. All right. One last word from each of you, and I'm going to say goodbye.
I'll start. Wait. I think we should go from me, because I'm the least important, all the way to Roxanne at the last. I just want to say it's such an amazing thing that we get to have an event like this, because I'm inviting neighbors. I'm inviting, it's just so easy to invite people to this. It's like
Mhm.
it's such a gift to have that kind of ease. And
Amen.
I'm just, it's when you're talking to your neighbors, when you're talking to whatever, it's just everyone's heard of it too. It's funny. I have neighbors coming that have never been, but they've heard of it. Isn't that weird?
That's
And
cool.
it's just such a cool, it's such a cool thing. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say. Thank you for giving us. We're blessed to have something to invite someone to church with.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah,
what a
that's
cool
cool.
tool. That's it.
And I'll go to Roxanne, though
Yeah.
you're the director of GOC, since Paul was this catalyst that begun the
He's
whole process.
catalyst.
And
Cheers.
people don't know, but you two are more like siblings than anything else and all that
Yep.
stuff. So
Brother.
I'll let Paul finish. Roxanne, what do you have to say?
I was going to say, if you're not busy during the GOC times, go and volunteer. We have cafes and we have guest services, things that you don't have to be trained at, except for just go smile and have fun with people who are super excited to be there. So I would volunteer if you can, and of course buy the tickets too. But that's all I have.
Awesome. I love it. And Paul?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, Brad, thank you for being the leader that you've been for the last 31 years for me and just making this happen, because it wouldn't happen without your leadership support and the fact you're willing to risk a lot of things over the years with us. It means a lot to me. And I think that's one of the big reasons it's going well. But I would say to the people that are watching, get a ticket for an unbeliever. It'll be life-changing for you. You'll be so excited about the program, and don't just consume, but contribute. And we make it easy. It's easy to invite. I invited a waiter at Alexander's just last week. Brand new,
Awesome.
never heard of the church, and it wasn't hard.
Yeah.
And he's excited to come, and he's going to bring somebody else. So I'm going to be excited that night because I know Dominic's going to be out there in the audience to watch it, and it can happen for you as well. So really pray about it, buy some tickets, get them out to your neighbors, your friends, and God will lead you, and it'll be life-changing for you as well.
Well said, all of you. Well, thanks
I
for
love
the
how you
conversation.
guys.
Yeah. And she means it. She
I
works
do.
behind the scenes to support everybody involved and invested and loves this program more than anybody. I sit next to her on my couch and I don't have her very much because she's working so hard all the time. I put the computer down is what I say. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'm so excited about this year's program. Congratulations on the 30th anniversary of the Glory of Christmas. Can't wait to see each and every one of you joining us for this event where God's going to change lives. So we'll see you.